All right, we are live. Hello, hello. Just a minute here. We'll get a couple people on and then we'll get moving. Okay, so welcome everybody to the second MoonDay Monday Priestess chat. This is my new live stream where we're going to specifically talk about priestess arts, feminine arts, the sacred feminine, water tending, all from a priestess perspective. That was an odd way for me to say priestess. Simultaneously, I started the 30-day Nourish Your Sacred Water Body challenge, which we started last Monday. So today is day 8. And so we've made it a full week. And actually for today's challenge, we're going to be getting it from our special guest, and the special guest actually inspired this whole challenge. Pull this up here. There we go. So she inspired this whole challenge, and that is because I'll give you guys a really quick background. I found Dakota through another amazing watery woman named Jen Isabel Friend, and I'll be having some stuff with her too. I'm actually going to do a whole post on finding her because she's got some really good water science. Anyway, so I was reading her newsletter, and Dakota was in there talking on a little video about something. I can't remember anymore. And I clicked and clicked and clicked, and I, ended up over here and interviewed her for the Water Priestess series. So of course, if you want to know more about her, you can just go to waterpriestess.com and then click on the interview series. I think she's way up at the top. And there's a whole interview with her talking about her path, like all that kind of stuff. And we're going to get a little bit of that today as well. And so then on like a crazy whim, last year, I went on a retreat to the Azores, and Dakota was the facilitator. And it's so interesting because like everything that I assumed it would be, it was like completely the opposite. And not in a bad way, in a good way, right? And there was this heavy focus on tending the physical body. And it was a really big wake-up call for me because I hadn't been doing that. I knew those things, right? And I thought to like a certain extent I had been, but I mean, not like what I experienced. And so that really gave me this like deep understanding of like, hey, I need to make some changes. And I kept being like, I will, next month, next week. And then the next thing you know, it's like the new year. So I was like, you know what? Accountability, Amlin. And so I just put this little challenge together, and mostly for me, keeping myself accountable. And I thought, hey, other people too. Plus, I'm really liking the content. So, I might put some little freebie together so that all of this can be sent out to you guys, or you can collect it on your computer. But one of the things that's really important to me, changing gears here, about this particular channel is, of course, like dance, sacred feminine arts, all these kind of things, but promoting water in its natural form, of course, natural water and the women or people, because even though I do want to focus on women, I'm not opposed to having a water priest on here or something like that, but sidetracked. So there's this idea of like really focusing on the natural bodies of the world, as well as then those sacred female or feminine tending of that, of those waters. And for the longest time, I really thought about bodies of water as like lakes, oceans, all this kind of stuff, right? Which makes total sense. But there are a lot more bodies, like our actual physical bodies. And Dakota is who I'm about to bring on in just a second. I'm going to click the buttons. But Dakota is basically like a nourishment expert on the sacred body. I mean, I don't know anybody, honestly. I know nobody that has this level of knowledge and experience in tending this physical natural body. I tend to put a lot of emphasis on protecting and saving the oceans, the rivers, and Dakota takes this approach of not protecting and saving, but and in a way, I think that that's probably present, but nourishing the body so that we don't have to get to that protecting or fight or flight type of mode. This idea of really calming and tending these sacred waters. And I think it also really speaks to how diverse we are and how we can be one thing and even think that we're like walking parallel paths, but at the same time take such a different approach to it. And kind of circling and tying all of this together, that really kind of brings me back to why this particular page, why the website, Instagram, all that kind of stuff is about, and that is sharing the sacred feminine and water tending. And that includes our physical bodies, which is perfect because I also have been sharing my sacred dance on this page as well, because dance fits a little bit more with priestess and feminine arts than it does with folk magic, although that's a whole thing, which I'm not going to get into. And I've already talked longer than I wanted. So let me go ahead and hit this button here. Okay, hold on. This one, invite. Okay, here we go. There she is. It's going to take us just a second. After she accepts, their screens are gonna, perfect. Here we go.
Aw,
Hello, hello.
I loved your introduction. So beautiful.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, it's true. It's so true. All of it. I'm trying to just get my head to not get my forehead cut off here, but I think that that's gonna happen. There we go. Okay, I can scooch back. Perfect. So, oh yes. Well, it's so true. It really is. I'm turning my volume up here too so I can hear you. I remember, and I'm gonna give an introduction, like I want you to introduce yourself in just a second too, but I remember, so we're on the tree at the Azores, and I think we had walked into breakfast, and I probably had my cup of coffee, greeting everybody like the Goblin Queen I am before coffee. Um, Fairy Princess after, Goblin Queen before. Um, and I was just probably something like, "Good morning, how are you?" And you said something, and you said it was something along the lines of like, "Oh my gosh, so good. I just gave myself like a 30-minute like self massage or something, and like with oils and all of this stuff." And I was just like, "What? Who does that? I want to do that." Like it just never occurred to me to
Yeah.
spend the morning tending your body like that. And I don't know, like I know we come from very different backgrounds, but it just struck me as something that was not just sacred, but so important. And the fact that it had just never crossed my mind before was a little bit like, wow. And so then I really started looking at you and your practice from this place of tending this sacred body and how important and how much I was lacking in that. And then that occurred to me that if I am, then there's probably so many other people as well. So saying that, let's actually back up just a little bit. I'd love to have you give a little introduction really quick. I've been calling you a nourishment expert. That is just how I've decided. But I know that you also probably have descriptions of yourself and identify in different ways. So I'd love to just give you that moment to introduce yourself as you would like to, and then we'll move into bodies and waters and all of this great nourishment stuff.
Amazing. Oh, well, I love that description as a nourishment expert. That feels just so beautiful. I've never described myself as that, but it's so perfect because that really is my focus, is getting women to understand that their body is made of water, mostly water, and how to tend to that water to create heaven on earth in your own body. And then as a result of that, outside of yourself. Because what I realized, I remember graduating high school, and I think just about like everyone who cares about the planet and humanity, I remember thinking like, I want to save the world, I want to help the planet, I want to make a difference. And I thought it was going to be this very like linear, like law school, like very brain kind of focus. And I just ended up going to New Zealand, taking a year off, and I had a profound spiritual awakening with the water in New Zealand and with sound. And what happened is I realized, how can I save the world if the qualities that I desire to see in the world, I'm not embodying? Because I am the world. My body is a microcosm of the earth. And so it was this light bulb moment where I realized like, wow, I have so much healing to do, and we all do. And if we really get to the root of the problem, instead of trying to put all these band-aids on it, it's like, what is the root? The root is this separation and this disconnection from our bodies, from each other, from community, and from the earth. And so I said, okay, I want to do a lot of self-development, but not in a way that I think sometimes we can think it's selfish. But I really realized,
Mhm.
oh, we need to understand that this is a deep service to the planet, and this is getting to the core root. And I realized, I'm like, I want to work with women one-on-one. And so long story short, I ended up studying through just miracles and magic, found an aquatic bodywork teacher, studied intensively with her in the water for 2 years, floating women in pools. And the main thing that was reflected to me is that when people after their session, women and men, would say, I feel like I'm in the arms of the Divine Mother. And I realized
Mm.
the water is the Divine Mother of us all. And when we can reconnect to loving our bodies and loving her, we will take care of her, because when we don't love something, we don't protect it. And most of us don't fully love ourselves, don't fully protect ourselves. And so when we love and protect ourselves, loving and protecting those around us and the earth is more natural. And so my work's just evolved over the past 10 years from that place and that initial working with the water. And I had a full rebirth being in the water almost every day. And I realized that we are all formed in the wombs of our mother. We are literally mermaids and mermen in this amniotic sac before we're ever born into the world and breathe air. And so connecting to water, we connect to the primordial source of life. And through this process, through water priestessing, like, I truly can say I've created my dream life. And it's not through like, oh yeah, you can manifest everything, blah, blah, blah. I don't like to teach that. I think we co-create with the divine. We co-create with life. But part of that is connecting back to the mother waters, because when we understand that we are water and this planet is water, and we understand the science of how water works, we understand that our emotions, our thoughts, everything we do makes a difference. And so activism can be every single moment with how we're being. I could just go
Yeah.
off on a tangent, so I want to just pause.
I know. Oh gosh. Well, I can talk too. I have a really hard time like finding but I have 12 more things to tell you before I can stop talking. So no, this is going to be great. Just I am keeping an eye on time. I figured an hour would probably be perfect today. So, but we have like more than 45 minutes left. I mean, we just got on. So, we have plenty of time to talk. And if we end sooner, awesome. If we go over, awesome too. So, I also didn't ask if you had a time to go, so if you need to head out at a certain point, let me know.
10:10 is my max. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right. Excellent. So, okay. Wow. There was so many things that you said that I was like trying to remember I wanted to touch on. Um, being okay, so the first thing that you said was a lot of people think that it's selfish to tend our bodies this way, and I am definitely one
Yeah.
that, and I think that that's why it really was a big wake up for me of being like, oh no, like not only is it okay, but like maybe this would be necessary for even more expansion and growth. Because, you know, if I can do something for someone else, like, I don't know, cook dinner for my family, or, you know, book a last minute healing session instead of taking that bath I was going to take tonight, well, then I can see all the people that can benefit from that. And that's been my mode. And so then to really, in those situations, do I say, no, you can't come for an emergency healing session, or do I take that bath? And I definitely would say something along the lines of, well, the bath would be selfish, so I will go and do what is of service to someone else.
Mm,
But I've noticed that this has reached a point of like moving into like a toxic relationship with that type of behavior and mindset. And again, the retreat, the Azores, just this idea of like, wait, Dakota's running a retreat right now. She's herding basically like 20 metaphysical cats. And, you know, like, oh, the shiny crystal, oh, the plant, you know, like we're all over the place, like, you know, just, and yet you
yeah.
still took this time to not just sleep in an extra 30 minutes, you know, put your makeup on. It wasn't stuff like that. It was like, hey, it was almost like, I know today's going to take so much out of me, so I'm going to give myself this bonus, this push in the morning.
Yeah, that
Wow.
because especially when running a retreat, like I get, it can be so easy to get depleted and overgive because there's so much energy that you have to hold. And I was hitting that point in myself. And I noticed I was like, wow, I'm feeling stretched and I want to give from overflow. I need to take care of myself right now. And I would way rather give myself an epic breast and womb massage and get in my super juicy, just be in my body and be able to give from that place than a place of depletion, because then I'm not giving you my best, right? I'm not going to
Yeah.
up for a retreat or a healing session or a coaching call or whatever it is from a full cup. And we, most of us are running on half empty or even empty cups. And so how is it that we can soften to fill our cups even in day-to-day life? And something that is a little life hack that I've discovered, because man, we are all busy, we are all have a little bit too much on our plate probably. What I found is that the more I can relax and get into pleasure in every moment, the better I feel. And literally, it can be as simple as, wow, I'm driving right now. There's nowhere else I need to be. I'm going to take some really deep womb breaths and I'm going to touch the seat steering wheel very sensually, and I'm going to feel how delicious the steering wheel feels right now. You know, just taking a few moments of presence, or doing the dishes and feeling the water on your skin, thinking like, thank you, water, I appreciate you so much. Like bringing more presence, sensation, and awareness just into every moment, no matter what it is that we're doing. That replenishes me too when I
Yes.
do it.
Yes. Because it's like, oh no, okay, one dish, scrub one dish, put it down. Scrub another dish, put it down.
Okay, yeah, fast, fast, go, go, eat.
Right.
Turn around,
Yeah.
they're like, ah, oh my gosh.
Yeah. I loved
Real pace right now on the planet.
I loved what you just said about give from overflow.
Yeah,
That's that's huge.
it is. And what I found too is that my work flows when I do that. Like, for example, I was like, oh, I need to write a post today, right? So what did I do? I did an hour of breath work. My post came through in like 3 minutes because it's channeled. If I sit down at a computer and I'm like, I have to write something now, and I try to write, oh my gosh, it is not going to be good, right? But if I
Yeah.
take time instead that I'd be sitting in front of the computer trying to like force myself to work and do a little bit of self-care, it just flows. At least,
It's no, it's so true though. It's so true. I have been on a writer's block for a couple of months now. I haven't published any blog, like I keep putting a couple things up, but they're old, they're reruns, they're other things. So really in the past like 4 months I've been like, why can't I write? Why can't I write? And but this has all been part of this like really not just coming to terms with it in my mind, but like understanding, hey, there needs to be action. And just in the past 7 days of my little nourishment challenge that I'm doing for myself, um, I have been walking in the mornings. I have been like pre-cooking my meals so that, I'm not in that place of like being hangry and like all of these types of, like, oh, it's an hour. I should have eaten an hour ago and I'm going to take another like 45 minutes to cook so that
Yeah.
by the time I'm ready to fill my cup food wise, I'm working in a negative anyways. So just these little things of preparedness. And I cooked all day yesterday, and while yes, physically it totally wore me out, but I had a movie going in the kitchen and on my laptop, and I was just in this like really fun flowing place. And I had a beautiful day yesterday. And on the mornings when I'm walking, I'm noticing that I'm writing in the evenings all of a sudden. So it's not just you. I mean, this is something that is lacking from society as a whole. And I love the fact that this is what you've like your mission, what you've developed, like what you're doing, and almost in a way that I see you as like teaching women. Well, I mean, obviously that's what you do, but you teach women how to tend themselves so that they can do whatever it is they want, like tend other people, heal, or maybe they are in a corporate job or just a mom, and whatever it is, it's it's almost a success coach without being a success coach. Um, because by doing what you said, yeah, by putting yourself first, it then just flows. And I'm sure that you've heard this from other people that have taken your course and from all walks of life
Mhm.
that yeah, things flow. And speaking of courses,
Because it's a
oh
reflection of yourself, And I saw my mom, I think we've all seen most of our moms be on burnout. And I saw my
yeah,
mom overgive, and then it would become resentment. It wouldn't be love anymore. There'd be like this undercurrent. And my mom's actually visiting me right now, and we had such a profound breakthrough where we were in the kitchen and she saw me. I had a really busy day, and so I was just kind of in this like da 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 kind of mode. And she stopped me and she's like, Dakota, why don't you just go to your room for like 10 minutes and like meditate or chill, just give yourself a little 10-minute massage, like chill. And I was like, no, I gotta help you, mom. I gotta help you. She's like, go take care of yourself. Come back in 10 minutes. It's 10 minutes. I went, gave myself a 10-minute breast massage. I came back a new woman. New woman. It's like we can just these little windows, even if we can just maximize these little reset windows and maximize women supporting women. My mom did that. And it was just like such a breakthrough for both of us. It was so beautiful. Like imagine if daughters supported their mothers and then friends supported their friends. Like, hey, you look burnt out. Like, do you want to take 5 minutes? Or hey, let's trade. We're hanging out. We're talking. Let's trade a foot massage for 5 minutes. You know, let's braid each other.
yeah.
Like just normalizing tending each other.
Well, I mean, as little kids, as little girls, I remember getting invited to a sleepover or something like that, and that's what we did. We
Yeah.
would braid each other's hair. We would paint each other's toes. But isn't it so interesting that those things are seen as young, childish acts and not part of the sacred adult feminine?
It,
Um,
the sacred adornment is one of the high priestess arts. That your body is a temple, what you adorn, how you do your hair. Like it's not just a surface thing, it's so much deeper than that.
yes, yes. And I went through a whole phase on sacred adornment and kind of being like, well, is there really a thing with that? I don't know. And through dance, I actually really started to understand that the dance props themselves, a crown, a costume, a belt, a robe, whatever it was, and especially in sacred dance, that they were part of it. And sacred adornment, it becomes almost a visual art. And that in itself is, I mean, we uphold the arts. We think that arts are society, this is why we have museums and, all this kind of stuff. We actually do hold it in high regard. And so if visual arts, if this, or even a performance visual, if these things are art, well, then art is sacred and it circles all the way around. And I remember, oh, go ahead.
Nature is the most beautiful art. Like,
Yes.
the most beautiful art. Sorry, I didn't mean, you remember what?
Oh, I remember the first time I did a sacred dance piece with other dancers. I had done them as solo, and I was just kind of tagging along. I wasn't a big, I wasn't leading at this point. I was working with a group of people that had a different director, and I remember us setting all of our pieces out and bringing our costumes the day before and holding ceremony with all of our costume pieces that came from all over the like world. We made them. We had sisters help make them. Pieces were imported from different countries, and we not only cleared any energy on it, but we brought together this kind of cohesive blessing of these objects that we were going to adorn with before the performance. And it was again another just beautiful, fascinating thing to really realize, like, that to that extent it's sacred. But then if you backtrack that a little bit, even something as simple as brushing your hair in the morning,
Yes,
it
exactly.
yeah, and it makes you feel good. It makes people that see you feel good. It's mostly, though, for me, like, doing it for me has been the part that is great, because you feel different
Yeah.
if you put the nice outfit on, if you brush your hair, if you tend yourself, versus just rolling out of bed and keeping your jammies on with a messy bun, which I totally tend to do more often than not. And I've really been pushing myself to stop doing that and to take the extra. Okay, you want to be comfortable today? Cool. Find something beautiful and comfortable. But anyways, what were you going to say? You had something you wanted to say.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say, our hair is 25% water by weight. And so literally our hair is this waterfall off of our head. And so when I tend to my hair, I love to look at it as a waterfall. And sacred hair tending is something that I teach in the Water Priestess Mystery School, and it's so many women's like one of their favorite parts because it's something that we tend to every day. And so you can bring so much awareness, like this is an antenna on our body, and increasing the level of sensitivity that our hair can hold by tending to it is just magical. Like I always say, my hair used to feel a little bit dead. When I would touch it down here, I couldn't feel the hair. I was like, oh, it's not alive, it's just hair. After, 7 years of really tending my hair, I can feel the aliveness in such a different way. It's like my hair, the water in my hair is like woken up. It might sound a little bit out there and, take a long
Well,
time, but
I don't. Well, I don't know, because they say that hair holds memory, and
Mm,
so does water.
oh, totally.
So that's an interesting connection too.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, because your hair, like, and specifically your matriarchal, your mother line, like the DNA of your mother line is contained in your hair, which is so fascinating. So if
I
you want to
didn't know that.
mother specific, like mother clearing hair rituals, using the hairs is so powerful for that. And of course, it can tell, like hair analysis can tell if you've been in a famine, what kind of drugs you've done. Like hair is so magical, and I believe that it does hold memory because of the water that's inside of it, of course. That's
Yes, and that I've always had really long hair, but I had a moment in my early 20s where I was going through a thing, and kind of in a grief move, I chopped. It
love.
was about this much on either side. It was a terrible idea. It was bad. I had to get it fixed. But
Just
there was this.
a little chunk.
I've been like just like whoop, like just like that. Yeah, I don't. I
Funky.
thought that I thought I was doing something that I wasn't doing, and I had no business trying to cut my own hair. But it had nothing to do with style. It had to do with this emotional release of some sort,
Yeah.
and it. In order for the girl to fix it, she ended up. It's if you ever see pictures of me with like um mid-back length hair. This is from that period because the poor girl she had to layer it to fix it. And we cut so much off. But there's this, I've seen it happen with other people too, with grief. When someone passes, oftentimes they will. And then the First Nations tribes, warriors that fought in different wars like Vietnam and stuff like that, they were actually recruited because of their scouting abilities and almost this supernatural warrior like sense. And there's articles about this, which is fascinating. So of course they recruited them into the American military and put them through boot camp. And the first thing that they did is they shaved their heads. So they took all of their hair off, and then they were so confused why all of a sudden they weren't displaying the amount of skills they had been with the hair. And in this case, it was the spiritual, I might be misspeaking here, so double check me on the internet because you can find articles. But there was both this idea of this spiritual connection to maybe like intuition and sixth sense, but also the warrior power was held in that. So, like I said, I'm not an expert on it, so double check.
Oh,
But
I've read those.
I've read,
Yeah, it
yeah, it's so fascinating.
makes sense. Like literally, like just like our eyes or our ears, like that the hair is an antenna, and it can
Yeah,
like just like we get chicken skin, just like when something is true or resonates, that our hair stands on end. Like our hair has magical sensory abilities to communicate with us.
yes. And I love that hair tending is a sacred feminine art. And again, this is how we're so similar and so different, is because I've done a lot of hair magic. I have done things like braiding intentions. I've done small braids underneath,
Yeah.
holding different spells, different charms, different, you can even do mantras, or if you're working on something, you can do that. You can cut that braid off when it's done. I mean, there's a lot of different things. I've even done gotten like gemstone beads and threaded them in to bring in crystal magic, and I've done hair washes, but more in a like protective or cleansing, like a magical type of reasoning. And it again, it's I'm sure you've done the same thing where you've done braiding and hair tending in this sacred way, even weaving magic into it, but from this perspective of the sacred tending versus we have something we're needing to do, so let's do it. But have you done braids and stuff like that in
Oh,
tending or magic?
I love braids. And what I've noticed too is that different braids will resonate with me at different moments in time. Like last year, I had this dream that I had a braid around my crown. And so for like 2 months, I would wear a braid around my crown, and it felt like this crown activation, like of both. It felt like a protection of the crown and also an activation. And then I haven't worn it since. It was just like a little little piece. And then lately what's been really activating me is doing these twisted like rope braids down the hair, and it feels DNA activation because it spirals like water or like DNA. And so as I braid that, I'll twist intentions into my hair, moving it down.
I love it. Oh my gosh, I love that so much. I had the twists are really hard for me, but even while you were speaking, I was like, oh, I can see like even energy flowing with that and like just different things with that double helix and how that spiral.
Totally. Like, since our hair is an antenna, like, before I go into, if you have to go to any big store and like fluorescent lights or be around huge crowds of people, I always recommend braiding your hair. And if you want to go extra, you can wear a hat or even a headscarf. And literally, like, you can braid your hair. And I like to coat it in protective essential oils. I love working with essential oils, and then I'll cover my head. And that just feels so incredible and protective when you go into those spaces.
A couple of years ago, my best friend actually went through a period where it was a couple of years, she covered in a turban or not a turban, but it was a special type, I believe, wrapped similar to the way that Jewish Orthodox women would wrap. But I also could have that wrong. But she wore a hair wrap as this one sacred tending of her hair. She kept it basically like for her and her family,
Oh,
and also a protective thing. And she would tuck different things and crystals and all sorts of stuff. And I know that, and I've seen friends actually. There's a gal, I'll call her an online friend because we've been online friends for, I mean, over a decade, but we've never met, but we keep meeting each other's friends, which is funny. But she veils in a red veil during her moon, and keeps kind of, because energy for her can be really intense during that period. So it is a way of shielding, and kind of keeping that hair tucked back so that it's not the antenna. So staying with that idea of it being an antenna, but consciously also kind of closing that off to be like, no, not
mm.
right now.
Oh,
So earlier, you had mentioned your courses, and you've also mentioned like massages and stuff like that. So I was wondering if you could talk about, okay, so the three, I think you have more than this, but the three that I can think of is you have your Water Priestess Mystery School, which I haven't taken, but I've been on your retreat, and if it's anything like that, it is so different. I mean, maybe we teach altar building. Maybe that's the one thing that would be similar. And I'm sure there's some overlaps, but with different things. But I think our approaches are so different. So even though, my students might be in my course, I still would recommend yours because it takes this, if it's anything like your retreat, again, this sacred tending. And then I also know you have your Amrita course, which is about the sacred orgasm and the, uh, again, tending the body. Because I had asked you, like, hey, what courses like do you have that I could take that's about tending the body? And I remember you talked about that. And then you also have your new one, which is your Celestine sexual waters. I messed that up. It's not quite right. So
that's,
just talk about that.
but worship is the 3 month one. That's about it's ceremonies for lovers, which
Okay, worship.
but yeah, Celestial's a masterclass that I'm teaching on Wednesday, and that's about Amrita orgasms, female ejaculation, and also multidimensional lovemaking. So yeah.
So for those that don't know, what is female ejaculation? On your page, it's probably most of your people probably know, but over in the pagan and witchy world, we are very free. It's one of the things that attracted me to witchcraft and paganism was this idea that our sexuality was sacred and should be honored, and it's not shameful. And in the charge of the goddess, the calling down of the moon. There's a set thing that's basically like, you'll like be naked in your rights so that you know that you're free, and all acts of love and pleasure are my ritual. And these are some of the, right, like some of the things that really attracted me to that. Like, no, like lovemaking, it's not this duty to your husband or something dirty that we shouldn't do. It is sacred, it is a ritual, and you really take that and run with it with your work. So could you give everybody a little rundown on what courses you offer and when they start and when or what is the difference between them in your own words, because you'll probably describe it better than me.
And
So
I would love to share just what female ejaculation is too first, because I know you
yes.
mentioned. So, female ejaculation is the flow of sacred waters from your yoni. And I personally experience it, and most women experience it through G-spot orgasm. You can ejaculate without orgasm, but the goal is to ejaculate with the orgasm because that is the height of the most, oh my gosh, it's honestly my favorite sensation that I experience in my body. It's not like that for every woman, but oh my goodness, the feeling of having an Amrita orgasm. Amrita is what I call female ejaculation because that word means nectar in Sanskrit. And this experience, it's like I feel when I have that height of orgasm sensation and then the water flows, I feel this cleansing. It's like I call it like a baptism of my cells. I just feel it through my whole body. It feels like this purification and this release that is so profound and deeply spiritual. And so I've been having Amrita orgasms since I was a teenager, and I'm so grateful for that. It just accidentally happened to me. And I was like, what in the world is this? Like, why did all this water just come out of me during sex? Like, did I pee the bed? What just happened? And thankfully, I was with a boyfriend at the time. I was 14, and he knew what it was because he watched porn, unfortunately. But he said that it was so cool and he was so into it. And I was super grateful because it didn't shut down my waters. He really encouraged them. And so, you know, through the years, I've continued having this beautiful journey with Amrita orgasms. And then finally, 3 years ago, I was like, I really want to share this medicine with women because it is water magic and it is so profound to work with. And I really experienced it when I went to offer it back to the ocean for the first time, because
I was hoping you were going to bring this up.
Never offered Amrita to the ocean. And I was got a beautiful goblet full of my Amrita nectar, and I brought it to her. And I had my girlfriend put it just on the sand, out of the reach of the waves, just near me, so she could give it to me when I was ready. And so I'm getting ready, and all of a sudden, this rogue wave. Literally, we'd been at the ocean for like an hour, and the water had been, normal, going up to this certain moment. And all of a sudden, when she put the Amrita down, this rogue wave comes out of nowhere, surges up way beyond, grabs the goblet and pulls it into the ocean. And in that moment, I just felt and heard this message like, I need to feel my daughter's pleasure. I need to feel that my sacred daughters are enjoying their bodies. Like the Divine Mother wants us to love being alive. She didn't create us so that we can just be like, oh, my life and full of suffering, blah, 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 blah. She wants us, and of course, that's not to say we don't go through challenges, we go through suffering, we go through these experiences, but she created our bodies to be able to experience such incredible pleasure, and she wants to know that. And part of having her know that is through our offering of our sacred waters. Because when we give her that water is encoded with all of your pleasure, all of your bliss, as well as your DNA and all kinds of other magical properties, but really it contains your orgasmic essence. And offering that back to the ocean, I just felt how grateful she was. And so it's part of my mission to support women around the world to open their internal spring. Because just like there's the springs that come out of the earth, we have a spring inside of our bodies, and that is our Amrita. And that potential lives within all of us. And so it just baffles me that I wasn't taught that in sex education as a teenager. I'm like, how could you have missed to tell me that? It's so precious and important. And so that's why I'm so passionate about it. And that's why I teach the Amrita course. And that's actually starting in February.
Right around the corner.
Coming up. And yeah, I'm also going to share more about the spiritual nature of Amrita in the masterclass on Wednesday, if anyone wants to know more about that. But yeah, Amrita, I'm so passionate about it. And then the Water Priestess Mystery School, as you were sharing, is a 6-month journey. And how I divided it up is through the gateways of the feminine. So we go through conception, birth, getting your moon time, and sexuality, menopause, and death. And through these gateways, we learn the way that water interacts. And of course, there's all kinds of other magic intertwined, but it really is nourishment focused and feminine gateway focused. And yeah, then my other program is not as much water related. So I think I'll just leave it at that for now.
Okay. But do you teach the Amrita in your Water Priestess as well, or are they're two separate?
I teach a little bit, but it's not as in depth. The thing, because what I found, sexuality is so nuanced, and most of us have so much trauma. Oh my goodness, that it's just so much that we need to work through in order to actually unlock the waters. And so what I found is that a lot of times women need a longer container, and I share all these specific more sexual based practices. It's way more in depth in the Amrita course than in the Water Priestess course. Some women have Amrita orgasms just through learning about it in the Water Priestess Mystery School, but some women need the more in-depth journey of the separate Amrita course.
Do you tackle kind of some trauma healing and stuff like that in there?
100%. There's no way that I could teach it and not, because that's such a huge component. And I actually had my sexual waters shut down once, and I realized it was through heartbreak. And that's when I realized the connection between Amrita flowing and heartbreak, our tears, trauma, and really got to get my waters back. And I feel like that moment really helped me to understand how to help other women who might have their internal spring, their sacred Amrita blocked, how to get that water to move again.
Lovely. Perfect. And I haven't taken the course, but I'm assuming that this is true, so correct me if I'm wrong. But in the Amrita course, you teach about how to do it with and without a partner.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So if you don't have a partner right now, you don't feel safe with a partner, or you want to do some healing without a partner, then the Amrita course is the way to go. And I
Yeah.
mean, I remember the statistics in high school, which was for me, what, oh gosh, 20 years ago now. Oh, how has time gone so fast? I remember the statistics then. So this was what, late 90s, really late 90s, where 1 in 3 women would be a sexual assault survivor. And I'm pretty sure that the statistics haven't changed. And the fact that you don't bypass that you take it head on, I think is so important, because it's necessary. And 1 in 3 women that maybe take your course, maybe it might be the same. And so to be able to have support for trauma while you're healing that wound or any type of trauma is fantastic. But then also I can imagine the release of those waters on the other side when they have been damned, or if someone that's listening has been in that situation where they're like, oh yeah, I can't orgasm. Because I've heard this from women before where they're like, oh, I just can't have an orgasm. And I'm like, no, 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 no. There's multiple different ways that women can have orgasms. So there's got to be an avenue for you. And I love that you happen to be one of those avenues,
Mm-hmm.
that resource is there for women to learn how to pleasure themselves and to heal, and maybe then with a partner later on, which I'll just throw this out there then, which is worship, which is her other course. So I feel like worship might be like a good thing to take after the Amrita course, if that sex magic and sacred sexuality is, yeah.
I really appreciate that you shared that, because that really is the focus, learning how to do it yourself. Because I was dependent on a man for Amrita orgasms until I was 24. I thought I never touched myself really, because I was always in relationships. And so I didn't have a relationship with self pleasure. So when I, didn't have a partner, I was single, I was like, wow, I really miss having Amrita orgasms. And I thought, Dakota, why can't you give it to yourself? And so I got a special, I figured it out. I learned how to give them to myself. And now I actually, in the course, I teach women to give it to yourself first. Even though it might be a little bit harder because you have to put in more work, it is so rewarding because you get to do the deep dive healing of feeling yourself and learning, having that reservoir connected to your own body first before thinking that it could be another person. And I prefer sharing it with my partner. Oh my gosh, absolutely. There's no comparison. But I feel like when you're learning, it's so powerful to do it on yourself first.
Yes. Well, I just think even just achieving an orgasm, right? I've
Mhm.
thought about this. Like, if you really tap into, like, just think of the best orgasm you've ever had, right? Like, if you tap into that and how your toes curl or flail or however, but it ripples up the body and there's this surge.
Yeah.
I feel like surge is a really good thing, right? And what is that surge? Well, it's energy, it's power. And I feel like when you talk about orgasms and finding power, and it's almost as if like when you do achieve that orgasm, it's like flipping the switch on that surge of power. And we can feel it go through our bodies
Mm.
and blast us into another universe is sometimes how it feels. But we also then forget that our bodies hold that much power and how
Mm.
powerful that is. And then we disconnect from that. And this idea of the orgasm being a power surge through the body is kind of fascinating. And you just really kind of made my brain explode with that. Like we give us like giving yourself an orgasm that it's whew, that and we house that. That's us. That's power.
Yes. And how we can access orgasmic energy even without touching ourselves. You know,
Yeah.
when I do my breathwork journeys, I have orgasms, I have energy orgasms, and that it's possible to because the way I like to think of it like water, right? The way that an ocean wave comes up and crests, that's kind of how an orgasm is. It builds that crescendo, and then it crashes down. And that natural waving of Kundalini, it's so watery. It is such a water-based art. The way that the power moves through the body. I've noticed that when I'm in that space of ecstasy, my body moves like water. And that's
Yeah.
magical.
Yes. Yes, it does. Oh my gosh, I didn't even think about that. But yeah, the I can even yeah.
Yeah, the undulation.
Yes, that makes so much sense. Wow. Okay. We are coming up on the hour soon, so I'm going to switch gears really quick. And I would love if you could talk about your experiences in Glastonbury because I'm a big, obviously, Avalon girl. I know you know that. We've talked about this a lot. And so on both of my pages, I tend to talk about Avalon or have this connection with these sacred springs and the red and the white. And I know that you have been to Glastonbury several times. And I know one time you had a pretty profound life-changing experience in the White Spring Water Temple, and then you were just recently there, which I'm um, wishing I could have gone with you. I don't want to say envious because I'm not really envious of you, but I just am like, oh, I wish I could be there too because it's such a lovely place. So can you maybe share about your experience in the land of the sacred waters of the UK?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my gosh, the UK for sacred waters is unbelievable. There are more holy wells, and a holy well is a sacred spring, in the UK and Ireland than anywhere else. It's so
I
incredible.
know.
Just the amount of sacred water there is mind-blowing. And to me, the waters in Glastonbury and Avalon are the most profound that I've been to there. Because I really feel it embodies that energy of sacred union. Because there's the red spring, the feminine spring, the chalice well, and there's the white spring, the masculine, and they flow right next to each other. And
Amazing.
oh my gosh, it's just so mythical. It's so mythical. I went when I first went there 3 years ago for the first time. That's where the Water Priestess Mystery School was born. It was born under the tour there because I was so inspired by the waters. And being there, I felt like I'd been there before. It was one of those tricky experiences where I'm like, I've been here before. Oh my God. And so the experience that I think you're referring to is I went into the White Spring, and the White Spring, unfortunately, because back in the day, and you probably know all the dates and stuff on this, I don't, but they made it the reservoir for the town to get water, and they put this huge structure around it, this building, but they've turned it into a temple now. And what they've done, it's when I walked in there, I was like, this is the closest thing that I've been to that's a living sacred water temple in this lifetime. And I just started weeping. I couldn't stop crying for like at least an hour, if not an hour and a half. And I was on the altar of Bridget, just weeping. And I felt recovering from a heartbreak too. So I was just like feeling the sacred union of the masculine. And I was feeling this energy just healing me, and the water's healing me through letting go of the tears, and Bridget holding me. And anyway, I was carrying, I had this water bottle, this Flower of Life orb water bottle with me. And when I had the release and the clearing and had finished being with the waters, I went outside, and the water bottle, like, I don't know how it happened. It, like, some kind of force beyond me flung it, because I was carrying it in a little shoulder strap, flung off my arm into the middle of the street and shattered. And it felt like this clearing of energy. And that water bottle is the water bottle that my beloved makes. He makes those. And so it felt like this clearing and this sacred union activation. I put it in the little trash can or recycling bin that was right there at the time. And little did I know that we were going to be together. And it was just such a beautiful, mythical experience. And that place has touched my soul so deeply. And I literally feel like you could journey into the water and like go into another world. It
Yeah.
feels like it emerges from the tour, and I literally feel like the tour is another is a you can access the other world. Like you can actually access this realm of the Fae or the spirits through the portal of the water there.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. And it's well, first off, it's a man-made hill, which is quite interesting. It's like a pyramid structure, the tour.
Oh my gosh, how did I not know that? It
It,
is. It
yeah.
It's like Silbury Hill.
Yes, 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 yes. Except, but Salisbury, yeah, has more of the actual pyramidal structure. This one has like the stepped, kind
Uh,
of a little bit maybe more like what we see in South America, and stuff like that. But yeah, it's technically a pyramidal structure, and it's considered to be a hollow hill, or one of the hollow hills of the fair folk. And Gwen Nith, so the king of the fairy, this is his realm, and there's so much lore, but he's the underworld of the tour, and then you have St. Michael's Tower on top. So then you have the sun god or the fire god. So it's almost this axis mundi as well. So, and then what's so interesting is what you had just talked about, how you had just had a heartbreak, but were yet to find your current beloved who makes these water bottles that shattered in this liminal space between the two springs. When you were in a liminal space between, the heartbreak and that heart healing. If anybody's interested in these bottles, by the way, I did a post a couple back on this page about drinking your gallon of water. I think it was day 1 or 2, and there's a picture of it. And if you want to drink a gallon a day, they're not expensive. I mean, they're less than $30, and they're glass. And so it's livewatchers.com, and you guys should check it out and get it, because it's a wonderful way to charge your water, or make crystal grid or whatever, and then actually ingest the water every day. I think that it's so fascinating to me that this happened to you, and then like you go on to then meet the person that creates these bottles. I mean, I would say like, wow, what a crazy coincidence, but I don't believe it.
yeah.
Um, it's right there in the heart of Glastonbury. Shattered what was left and then put your heart back together in this beautiful, amazing way. And Glastonbury itself is so magical. And I've had the same experience as you, where it's like, I know this.
Mm,
I know this place.
familiar.
Yes, yes. Well, with all that being said, I'm keeping an eye on our time today, and we are definitely right up on the hour. So, I would love to talking about the Nourishing Your Body Challenge. I was wondering if you could give us a challenge for today, and it can be anything, but it would really focus on nourishing our sacred water bodies. And I thought that you would probably have something that I haven't thought of yet, and that would be,
Mhm.
you know, unique to you. And obviously, no matter what you say, I'm like convinced it'll be nourishing. Um, so, could you give us a challenge for today on how to nourish our bodies?
Oh, I would love to. Thank you. Yeah. You know, probably one of my favorite top three water priestess arts is that of ritual washing. And the water washes all of us clean. We take baths, we take showers, but not only does water purify us on a physical level, water cleanses us on an energetic, emotional, and spiritual level. And that's why religions around the world have all used water in this sacred way, for cleansing and purification, like, ritual foot washing and baptism in the Christian tradition, and hand washing in Buddhist tradition, and different washing. And so I absolutely love ritual washing. And so a simple practice, I mean, this can get really elaborate, but just a simple basic one that I would recommend is going out and gathering some sacred water, whether that's spring water or a pure, lake water or pure river water. Just make sure it's really clean, well sourced, and feel into what kind of water would most nourish your temple that day. And then get some kind of soft washcloth. I love to use just organic cotton. If you want to get really fancy, I mean, you can like dye your cloths and magical herbs, and really make it ornate. But just any cloth, washcloth will work. Set up a beautiful space, light some incense, some music, and then what I recommend is doing a heart cleansing. So our heart, right? Oh my gosh, our beautiful breasts, extensions of our heart, is so powerful, the magnetic field that our heart emits. And yet our heart can carry so much for us, so much emotionally. It can carry heartbreak, it can carry pain, it can carry all these emotions, and water can help us let that go. And doing that through ritual is so powerful. So what I recommend doing is, with your bowl of water, praying into the water and asking for whatever heart healing you need. Maybe you're healing from a heartbreak, maybe you had a fight with your partner, maybe you are having a disagreement with your mom, like who knows, whatever it is. And I recommend stirring your prayer into the water. And I like doing, I have this crystal wand that I like to stir with, but you can stir with your finger, you can stir with a stick. Be intuitive, get creative, right? It's not a science, it's an art. So stirring your prayer for healing into the water, and really calling on the essence of the Divine Mother of the water to support you, knowing that she's here for you no matter what, that she'll never abandon you. Something I love, this little tangent, water washes all of us clean. Whether you are a saint, whether you're a murderer, she doesn't care. She is literally the most unconditional, loving being, truly embodies the frequency of the Divine Mother, and she is here for us. So once you've stirred your prayers into her, also extend gratitude and your love, because when we extend our gratitude and love, it creates a more powerful experience, because it really supports the water to be able to support us. So when you stir that in, lay down and just have the water next to you, have your washcloth, dip the washcloth into the water and go slow. Really tap into your breath, feel the sensuality of this. And as you squeeze out the water from the cloth, feel the prayers, feel the majesty of this water. And then slowly bring it to your heart, and slowly imagine that this water is washing away any heartbreak, any pain, any tenderness. And what I love to do with the washcloth is you can actually squeeze a little bit of water on your heart too. Drop it on like rain. You can open the washcloth and drag it like in figure eights around your breasts. You can be more firm and like move it in circles, and really play with this and ask and constantly focus on knowing that the water is supporting you and releasing whatever you need to from your beautiful heart. So this practice is simple, but after I do it, it is so profound. You can really feel the shift. And obviously you can make your water blend super magical. You can do all kinds of magical, witchy, potion-y kinds of things, but I just wanted to give you the basic recipe.
Yes, and the slow down part is something, yes, that I'm like Speedy Gonzalez. You know, So the slowing down, that's something, I think that when you said we were going to spend 30 minutes doing a hand washing, I was like, what
You're
are
like,
we going to do for 30 minutes? Because I'm thinking like, wash my hands. Okay. I was like, oh my gosh. But it went by so fast. So set a timer for a longer period of time and stay in that space.
yes.
And yes, and for 30 minutes and or more, and really go through the process and doing things like the dripping of the water, that sensation. Again, something that I didn't think would be impactful, but it was impactful. What were you going to say?
I forgot a key piece. It's so much better if you warm the water. So I like to make the potion blend and have that in a bowl, and then I'll actually heat up a kettle with more spring water, and then I'll add enough warm water into the potion blend to where the water's warm. Because when the water's warm, it just adds in this extra layer of nourishment and of yumminess. And
Yeah,
especially with the heart clearing, like allow yourself to feel the pleasure, allow yourself to feel the orgasmic nature of moving it over your nipple, right? Just allow yourself to feel more, because a lot of us are desensitized. So the key to experiencing more pleasure, more orgasm, more anything is literally being more sensitive. And how do we get more sensitive? We slow down, we breathe,
yes,
we're present, and we're aware.
yes. Present, aware, be present, be aware, slow down. And I'm going to circle back to what you said at the very beginning, which was huge for me, which was give from the overflow. That's what it was. Make sure that you're giving from the overflow. And one way to make sure that your cup is overflowing is slowing down and doing these beautiful, nourishing rituals.
Absolutely.
Oh, thank you so much for being here today and for sharing your magic, because it's so different and so needed. It's so needed, and that's something that I really learned last fall was, wow, this is necessary. And who knows what tomorrow will bring? It could be beauty, it could be some other horrible news. So take the moment now to just nourish yourself while you have the opportunity. And don't put it on the shelf. Don't
Yeah.
put it on the shelf. Okay, one last time, you guys can find Dakota at iamdakotachannel.com, as well as right here on I Am Dakota Channel on Instagram. And then tell us the courses that are coming up again and when they start.
Yes, absolutely. And it's my name's Chanel. So sorry, I don't mean to correct you, but
Oh,
I think it's
it is Chanel.
Chanel. Yeah.
Okay, so I was calling you Dakota Chanel for the longest time, and then I was like, no, it's Channel. I'm wrong.
Oh,
So I've been correcting
cute.
myself. So it is Chanel.
Yes.
Okay,
Chanel.
awesome.
Oh, I love that. Yes.
Okay,
No, it means channel of water, Chanel. So it's like it means channel. So it's funny. But yeah, my upcoming things are Celestial Masterclass, Multidimensional Lovemaking, and Amrita Orgasms. It's happening Wednesday, and that's just it's a class, it's a low tier offering. And then I have the Amrita course happening in February, and I think it's actually going to be my last time that I teach it with live calls. So it's going to be really potent. So I recommend, if you're feeling called, this is a good moment to join that one. And then the next Water Priestess School starting the end of March.
March. Okay, perfect. All right. Well, look at that. I'm getting you off 2 minutes early. So
Wow. Thank you.
perfect.
I feel like we could have talked for hours more. I just love to
Oh,
hear.
yeah. You know what? Let's try and bring you back on in the fall or something, and we'll talk about maybe dropping into nourish our bodies as we go into the colder, darker months.
Beautiful. That sounds
That would
great.
be fun.
Thank you for
Awesome.
you. You're such a
Yeah.
world.
Oh, thank you so much, and thank you for being here. And we'll see you guys next Monday. Bye.
Bye.